get green tea emoji, not emoji, green tea chocolate pie. Yeah, anyways. Killer and Castle. Bella rode behind the stranger, feeling guilty and afraid. She had no idea what awaited her or where she was going. The castle she saw that morning was old and couldn't have housed anyone but the stray cat and the vermin it would eat. She tried not to think about it, but when she didn't hear her mind would wander to all the childhood tales of what happened to innocent girls who were taken to the castle, namely how they would be killed and eaten. She didn't want to believe superstitious fables, but it was hard not to when she was right in the middle of one. Feeling sorry for herself for being so foolish as to ruin not only her own life but her brother's as well, she began to cry softly, enough to get it out but not so much to alert her captor. As they crossed through the woods and came to the winding road leading to the castle, Bella could see it was ablaze with light. All 4 stories were lit up, and every window had glass gleaming in them. Not a single stone was out of place. No bush was unkempt. It was as though no one had ever stopped living there, and that the throngs of workers and servants were maintaining it and lighting lanterns and fires to keep the place warm, inviting, and alive. Bella was shocked. I do not understand. You will eventually. You did not see the real castle this morning. He turned and looked at Bella. Why didn't you burn the rose, Bella? What? She was taken aback by his question. You were told to burn it. Why didn't you? And why? Oh, yeah. You were told to burn it. Why didn't you? And why even show them girls anyways? I don't understand people these days, the way you behave. Bella felt her hackles rise. What do you mean, the way I behave? You came and took me out of my home like it is the Dark Ages and you're some Viking overlord claiming his due prize. That behavior is hard to understand. All I did was pick a rose. A rose you should have burned. Bella felt her fist clench around the bridle of the horse. But before she could say anything more, he abruptly turned back around. She couldn't understand why he was so concerned about the advice Angie had given her, or how he had known But what she really couldn't understand was why she was arguing with him. A man who could, by the law of living on the land of the family who employed him, kill her if he so wished. She also couldn't understand how the castle, which was so close she could hit it with a stone if she had one, looked alive with light but held no sound of people. It was becoming very clear to her that the superstitious fables surrounding the island didn't even begin to hint at what was really going on. Where are all the people? The man laughed. There are no other people, no one except Gretchen and myself. You do not mean Gretchen from the story of 100 years ago? That is a question. Ah, girl, would you stop your chattering? When we get inside, Gretchen will do what Gretchen does. So it's really good to read the Chicago Manual of Style because it taught me a lot about how to properly do things like that. There's supposed to be spaces on either side, so the way it works is when you're kind of pausing within the sentence but you're just continuing the same thought, it's that. When you're ending without actually finishing your thought but then beginning a new one, you would put the periods here like that and then capitalize this letter so that you were beginning a new thing. But since this is just breaking a thought, it's like that. The man mumbled something that sounded like she should have listened to her in the first place, but he didn't say it for her, so it was hard for Bella to tell. Once at the door of the castle, a wood monstrosity fixed in a large opening. Ooh, those are M dashes. Know your M dashes. That was another thing I learned in the Chicago Manual of Style. I call it CMOS a lot when I complain about things online. There we go. Sorry, I'm Rick and Morty in this shit again. Let's do this again. Okay. So, CMOS. right there. It is what professional editors use, so these are like proofreading marks that are simple. But the thing is like I can't even remember how much I paid for it. Yeah, it costs a lot, and it's really worth it. It is what editors use in America. Now in England, editors use the Oxford's Manual of Style, I believe it's called. If you ever are going to want to be an editor, or not an editor, if you ever want to be an author and you want to pay somebody to edit, and they use the Manual of Style, I think it's called. Yeah. Ah, Jesus Christ. There you go. See, it's just gonna bring up the actual correct stuff. There's one that's the wrong one. And I got really mad because I found out that editors were using it, and I'm like, why are they? I mean, it would suggest things like making tomorrow, like with dashes in them. Okay, it sounds like my husband's gonna be doing. That was if I don't want to read other things. Ugh, he's complaining all the time about our streaming. Okay. Just stream it or record it. I think I need to start recording these or something. I need to like stream and record them. I don't know. Okay. I don't know what it's called. The Manual of something. It's not the Chicago Manual of Style. I don't know. It's the Manual of something. I don't know. So, boop. There we go. But, yeah, if they use anything other than that, I can't remember. I have to look it up. Like, there's a lot of really crappy editors. I could probably find it real quick if I Googled it. Let's go back to that. Let's try that. Let's Google real quick. I can't find it, and I don't even remember what it's called. It's so bad. All I know is like that is what the people use professionally for America for writing books. I don't know where the other one is. Hopefully they just taken it off the internet because it's so bad. Maybe in a future one, when I find out what it is, I'll like update it. Right now, we're gonna finish doing this because I get distracted easily because I have ADD. Okay. Two. All right here. So yeah, M dishes. Once at the door of the castle, a wood monstrosity fixed in a large opening, the man got off his horse and pulled Bella down from hers. The horses wandered off, and Bella wondered where they would go and who would tend to them, but before she could ask, she was pulled into the stone home by the strange man. Gretchen, damn it, get your ass down here. Oi, she's here, is she? Hey, I fixed it there. Why didn't I fix it before? Interesting. Bella stood dumbfounded, round cheeks stained with tears, watching as a woman no older than herself came around the corner, her blazing red hair a curling mess pinned up on her head, green eyes sparkling. Eyes Bella recognized. Okay. There's this whole... I have like this issue where in my mind that sounds correct. Like that sounds correct, but I know grammatically it's not, and so I have to fix it every time. Bella stood dumbfounded, round cheeks stained with tears, watching as a woman no older than herself came around the corner. Her blazing hair was a curling mess pinned upon her head as her green eyes sparkled. See. Bella stood dumbfounded, round cheeks stained with tears, watching as a woman no older than herself came around the corner. Her blazing red hair was a curling mess pinned upon her head as her green eyes sparkled. Eyes Bella recognized. Yeah, even that should be like a secondary. Like, I mean, it's like you're taking a breath. Her blazing hair was a curling. Yeah, okay. But you. There. Ooh, see, fix. Watch. This is how this one. So there you go. So that's how that would work. So she starts to say something and then stops and says like something else there. And ow. I got an itch on my leg. Oh Jesus Christ. I'm staring at these ones here because there's a rule about using those at the end of the sentence. Now, if the person is interrupting their own thought, then you're using that. Now, if the person is interrupted by somebody else, then you use an M dash, which is really tricky because you gotta trick the commas or the quotation marks. Okay. But you're old Angie, or well... Not so old now, am I, girl? Said the much younger version of the woman Bella knew well. Right here. It's almost always best to use the word said. And even though she's asking a question and there's no comma here, you would still use a lowercase because of the fact that it is a continuation of that sentence. Other than being years younger, the woman looked much the same besides her clothing. Whereas old Angie wore clothes of an elderly woman making do selling meats from the main island, Gretchen wore men's boots, breeches, and shirt with suspenders holding the trousers up. Though with as tight as they were, she didn't need the suspenders for a lift. They seemed to more push her breasts in and together. I do not understand what's happening. Okay. That's gotta get fixed. Pow, pow. You can totally tell I haven't ever done. It's like 2013. Come on now. Burp. There you go. I don't understand. What's happening? Bella felt her head spin. She grabbed the wall for support, stepping back as Gretchen attempted to help. Bella could see the stranger shake his head before he walked away. Aw, come on now, Leif. You don't gotta be... Aw, come on now, Leif. You do not have to be like that. Gretchen called to the man as Bella's world went black. The cool stone slide... blah, blah, blah. It's another one of those places where, like, as I was, like, doing, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. The cool stone slid beneath her hands as she dropped to the floor. Ah, the process. I love the process. The cool stone slid beneath her hands as she dropped to the floor. Okay. I was reading over to make sure that in this part it showed that she was actually touching the wall, so that you know what the hell stone she's talking about here. I gotta read whatever this says here. Okay, whatever. Okay, there we go. Alright. Again, sure that's not it. I would go over that word like every time because it's supposed to be like happening, but it's happening. What is happening? And that's right. Okay. Hey, there she is now. Bella opened her eyes to take in unfamiliar surroundings. Bella opened her eyes to take in unfamiliar surroundings. She was in a large wood bed that had a high canopy done in deep blue fabric. An ornate rug on the floor matched the coloring, and a wardrobe on the other side of the room had carvings to match the bed. Next to the bed in a plush gold chair sat Gretchen, the woman she knew her whole life as old Angie, but in a young body. Behind her a fire burned in a large hearth, and beyond that was a high window looking out to the twilight sky, and in front of both I hate this kind of like listing, sort of describing stuff, but it's kind of the best way to get through a short story like this. Behind her a fire burned in a large hearth, and beyond that was a high window looking out over the twilight sky. In front of both were a lounge and two more chairs that matched one Gretchen was in. The room... I think that sentence could just go away. It just doesn't even make sense. Behind her, a large mirror burned, and beyond that was a high window and looking out on the twilight sky. Good enough. The room had to be the largest Bella had ever seen. It was almost the size of her entire home. Where am I? Your room. It can be changed in if you like. Like, no problem at all. Gretchen smiled and sat up. Is there anything you need? To go home? To be with me mom, me dad. Bella sat up and noticed she was... Okay, sat up, smiled and sat up. There you go. Bella pushed herself up and noticed she was in a thick nightgown. Who changed me? Gretchen laughed. Do not be scared, Bella. The magic did it for Leif and myself. Bella looked at the other woman. The magic? Yeah, it's all over the property. It's why you thought the place was abandoned. I watched you the whole time, sent Henry my cat out to scare the rose out of your hand, but you did not drop it. She shook her head. You shouldn't have showed that to them girls. You should have burned it like I said to... Gretchen shook her head again. Bella pushed the blankets aside and stood. Why can't he just let me go back to my family? There ain't nothing making him keep me here. He said it was just you and him here. There we go. Now we're gonna end up with it. My hair's been like, we don't need to get redundant now. I just bleached my hair yesterday, and so my roots hurt. It's like if you could hear it, it's like, it's horrible. It looks beautiful though. Oh, hello, viewer. Hi. Okay. Gretchen stood to and approached Bella, her hands up as if to show she was of no threat. Somehow the magic knows you did it, and it let the elders know. They'd come after Leif if he didn't take you. It would have been all the excuse they needed. That doesn't even make sense! Bella could feel herself being flustered again. All the tales she thought were just scary stories to keep people off the island or children in line were blowing up in her face. Bella, Donna, I told you to burn the rose. If you had no proof, it wouldn't have been enough, even if people saw, even if people spoke. But when you kept it... Gretchen shrugged. See, again, I don't know if that's... I don't know if I can leave the 3 dots there if I put something else. I'm gonna guess it's the 3 dots. Okay. Even if you had no proof, it wouldn't have been enough. Even if people saw, even if... I think that needs to be a new sentence there. We'll try. If he had no proof, it wouldn't have been enough. Even if people saw, if people spoke, but when you kept it... Yeah, good enough. She walked towards Bella again, and this time the younger woman let her comfort her. I'm sorry, Bella. Leif will do what he can to get you back to your family. If there is anything he can do. That needs to be emphasized if there is anything he can do. And there's no need to have that there. Interest is fine just like that. Okay. That is, if there is. Trying to fix this sentence here to make it sound better. I'm like sentence Nazi sometimes. Alright, I'm sorry, Bella. Leif will do what he can to get you back to your family. That is, if he can do anything. Now, can needs to be emphasized. Pow, okay. Bella gave her a doubtful look, which made the other woman laugh. Leif is a good man. He wouldn't have been here I would not be here today if it hadn't been for him. He saved my life. He saved my life. He did when I came here all those years ago. It's so hard to talk like Gretchen. She's so like bubbly. It just doesn't work for me at all. Bella sat back down on the edge of the bed and looked at Gretchen. The story of her coming to the island was supposed to have occurred over 100 years before, but there she stood, young and beautiful. How is it even possible? Even if you hadn't died, then surely you should be dead by now. Him too, since you say it was he who saved you. Gretchen laughed. You know how there is a tale of the beast that lives in this castle? Bella nodded. She had heard of various stories, so it could be any one of them that Gretchen was referring to. Well, girl, there is a beast in Leif, a real one in his father, aye. She laughed again. But Leif, and well, myself included, could be set in the story as a beast if you wish. Why yourself? Bella couldn't see how this woman, though supposedly over a century old, could be a monster in any way. Gretchen shrugged. It is a side effect of Leif saving me. His beast saved me, and now we are both beasts. I will live for well over 1,000 years because of it. Bella furrowed her brow, considering the woman. She seemed so young, so lively, but still with the wisdom and grit that came with the age she saw in Angie. Oi, what are me manners? You hungry, Bella? The sun should be coming up any time now, and I wouldn't mind a bit of breakfast myself. Bella opened her mouth to refuse. She didn't think herself able to eat any food from Gretchen, no matter how nice she seemed, but her stomach answered for her in an audible growl. Gretchen patted her leg and hopped up. Be back in a jiff. She was out the door and gone before Bella knew what to say. Bella breathed in deeply, then let it out, and all at once before standing and stretching. Gretchen was right. The sun was just starting to rise, and the room she was in appeared to face the west, because she could see the clouds tint pink and purple above the mist-shrouded forest as it came up. The garden she had snuck into filled the space between the dense wood and the castle. Bella could see the opening of the castle wall, deliberate in its placement as an entrance to the woods. Okay, make sure I read that word wrong. Make sure it actually was right. Boobies. I don't have no boobies to show you. I am sorry. Bella, no, we're at here now. Bella could see the opening of the castle wall, deliberate in its placement as an entrance to the woods, which had appeared as a fallen section the day before. The hedge of the roses nearest it, which had gotten her in all the trouble, blazed bright red. Okay, right there, that's gotta fix. The hedge of rose nearest. Closest to it. Delete. The ones which had gotten her in all the trouble. There you go. The hedge of roses closest to it, the ones which had gotten her in all the trouble, blazed bright and crimson red, like the one she had taken. I think the word just needs to be there. The hedge of roses closest to it, the ones which had gotten her in all the trouble, blazed bright and crimson red, just like the one she had taken. Yeah. They stood out from the rows and rows of white flowers. They stood out from the rows and rows of white flowers, the way her blood had the day before on the petals when she splattered it across them. Bella heard a movement behind her and said, Gretchen, was it normal for the roses to change when I took one? I can't imagine I was the first to do so, or the stories about it happening wouldn't exist. No, you are not the first, and no, it is not normal for that to occur. Ugh, I can't do a dude's voice. It's horrible. Just not a dude. The gruff male voice startled Bella. Her hands went to the side of her nightdress as she turned to face Leif, taking a step back and nearly bumping into a glass window. I'm sorry, I thought you were Gretchen. Where is she? I need to speak with her. He let out a small laugh. Actually, I need to discuss what you do about those roses. What do you mean? Bella could feel her pulse increase as he began to walk towards her. He stepped. Oh, he looked out the. He looked back out the window. Bella followed his gaze. The elders wouldn't know, and I would have had to take you anyways. The elders would have known, and I would have had to take you anyways. He looked back at her. I want you to know it's not my choice to live this way. I have wanted to turn the land over to the people nearly all my life, but the remaining elders of my family refuse to let that happen. I'll do what I can to return you to your home. The fables of the beast in the castle are just that, fables. He stepped away from the window and headed to the door for the open door. Gretchen told me the two of you are beasts, but she left for food before explaining. Bella wasn't sure why she was stopping Leif, wanting answers from him. He took her like he was supposed to, even if at the time she thought he was in the employment of the Killerans, but claimed he hadn't wanted to. But now he took all he was supposed to, but now claimed he hadn't wanted to. It was hard for her to understand his world and the rules that applied to it, though she had technically lived in that world her whole life. I know you are not like me. Gretchen is not like me. The story of her, that happened 116 years ago. Neither of you should be alive, and this castle is not right either. I know what I saw, and it is not it. And this is not it. So what of that? What do you have to say about that? Leif turned and faced her, no emotion showed on his face. Aye, it is true, she came here that long ago, and it is also true that I lived here hidden in what you would call an enchanted castle for more than twice that time, but neither her nor I are beasts. No matter what Gretchen says, the last beast of Killeron died when I killed my father. Father. I'm like, what the fuck? Leif or Leaf. I think it's pronounced Leaf. Am I wrong? I don't know. I'm pronouncing it the way I think it's pronounced. I don't fucking know. Like I said, I am not very good at doing accents and pronouncing this shit correctly. I'm just reading it. Oh, for some reason I thought it was like talking about the wall being covered in biscuits. I lost my spot. Leif left the room before Bella could ask any more. Leif left the room before Bella could ask more, and as he exited, Gretchen entered on his heels carrying a... entered carrying a large platter. It was covered with giant biscuits, even larger pieces of pork, sweet butter, jelly, and milk to wash it all down with. She said the jelly and biscuits were from France, but the pork and milk were right from their own stock on the grounds. Bella settled in for the best breakfast she'd ever eaten and wondered how they could have gotten hot, fresh biscuits from France, but didn't care as she devoured them coated in butter and fresh strawberry jelly, a treat she had never eaten before, while listening to Gretchen recite the story of how she became what she said is a beast, but Leif said is not. Womp womp. Save. Your husband's listening to me. Thought you were streaming.